Hello, this is Newton Paradox. Now I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to set up and install a form on Windows Server 2008 from the start to finish using the Internet Information Service, which is Microsoft's web server. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click the bottom left corner here on the Server Manager icon to launch the Server Manager, which will let us begin. The first thing we're going to do before even adding our Internet Information Service roles, we're going to disable the enhanced Internet security configuration. And what that is basically is when you open a web browser to go to browse anything, if it's not a trusted Microsoft website, a pop-up will appear and it will tell you this site is unsafe and to add it to a secure list. Now this can be very annoying, especially when you're trying to do anything. So we're going to disable that. Now next thing we're going to do is we're going to click the roles on the top left corner here to bring that up, and we're going to add a role. Now the way Windows Server 2008 works is everything has a role. DNS has a role, DHCP has a role, fax, file services, whatever you name it, you just add the role to that server and that turns that server. In this case we're going to install the web server IIS. We're going to click next, and then we're going to click next again. Now we're going to get to the features within the role of IIS. Now generally Microsoft does a good job picking these. We're actually going to add a couple things just for the sake of adding them, so we don't have to add them later for the rest of the tutorial. We're going to add the application development, ISP.NET, ISAPI filters, which can become useful, and we're going to add the IIS6 management compatibility so we can later do work with SMTP. Make sure the virtual server is up. It's the easiest way. You can add an FTP server if you want later. If not, ignore it. Click next and click install. Now it's going to install the role, and as soon as it's done we can continue. Alright, now that IIS is installed, we're going to get a warning because the system was not updated recently. You can ignore that. I recommend you update your system. We're going to click close and we are ready to roll. Now, top left corner, we're going to click on the roles button and we're going to click on web server. Now you'll notice that probably wasn't there before. That's the role we installed. Next we're going to click the Internet Information Services, and that's going to open up the Service Manager inside the Server Manager. We're going to expand the host name right there, and we're going to expand sites. Now the first thing Microsoft does is install the default website. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the default website in this case for the purpose of the example. We're actually going to rename it though. So first thing we're going to do is rename it test form so we can differentiate it later, and that is basically our test form we're going to install. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to launch our Internet Explorer here, and we're going to install some called the Web Platform Installer. Now what the Web Platform Installer is, Microsoft version of a very newbie friendly tool that allows you to install software such as PHP, IIS, MySQL, WordPress, all these different useful apps and so on that you'll need to run your website if you don't have any real technical expertise or don't have the patience. So in this case we're going to click download it now, and we're going to begin installation. And what this really does is, for those users who don't want to sit there and customize every little thing, or for those who don't really know, the Web Platform Installer makes things a lot easier. So it's a good way to start out if you've never done it before. I always recommend though that eventually you download the packages and install them yourselves, because there's a lot of options that you don't get when you get the Web Platform Installer. Alright, so now once the Web Platform Installer is open, you'll notice a lot of options that you're familiar with. Now the cool thing about Web Platform Installer is if you actually add a piece of software such as, for example, Joomla, what is it going to do is it's going to find all the requirements for that piece of software. It's actually going to tell you. It's going to say you're going to need MySQL and so on and so forth, but that's not what we're going to do. What we're actually going to do is we're going to show you how to use the Web Platform Installer to install a package which might not be included, such as, for example, an SMF form. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install PHP. So we're going to type PHP into the search field on Web Platform Installer here. And we're going to come up with a lot of options. Some of them don't make complete sense, such as WordPress. There is no PHP in it. However, among those options, you're going to see an option called PHP 3 5.3.6. That is what we need today. So we're going to click add to that. And you notice it's going to include the PHP manager as well. We're going to click install. It's going to tell us all the required packages, and then it's going to begin installing PHP for Windows, which will very important part of running the form website. Okay, now that we installed the PHP, you'll be greeted by this screen. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to install MySQL. And MySQL is basically going to give us the database structure for our form. So the MySQL we're going to use in this case is MySQL 5.1. And again, as I said before, when you get more comfortable, please go download these distributions directly from their manufacturer websites and install them yourselves. It's usually the best way to go, in my opinion. We're going to accept, and it's going to ask us to set a root password. Now, this is the master password to the database to get you access into the command console. So it's very important that you have a hard password. In this case, I'm going to choose an easy password because we're on a review, but just enter a password you'll remember in there. Click continue, and now it's going to install the MySQL for Windows. Alright, now that MySQL is done installing, we can go ahead and begin configuring our different things in preparation for a form. Now you might be asking yourself, why are we doing this? Why aren't we just installing PHP using the web platform installer? It does everything automatically. Well, there's a couple reasons. One, there's a lot of distributions out there for form software that you probably will not be able to use. And it will not be available for web platform installer, and you'll want to use it and try it out. Also, you lose again some of the ability to make fine changes during the installation using the web platform installer, because it automates the process completely. So what we're doing is we're automating half the process and the rest we're doing manually. So next thing we're going to do is a start menu. You're going to notice a new option called MySQL command line client. We're going to click that, and it's going to open a command line. First thing it's going to ask for a password. So we're going to actually enter the password we set as for the root user earlier in the web platform installer, and that's going to bring us in to the console for MySQL. Now the very first thing we're going to do is we need to create a database which the form software will inject itself into with all the tables and populate it with data. This is not too hard, and if you forget the commands I enter, I will list them as part of the video information below. So the first one we're actually going to do is we're going to type create database. I'm going to give the database a name. We're going to call it test form in this case. We're going to put those little marks at the end. We're going to click enter. It's going to come back with query OK, row affected, and the database has been created. Now the next thing we need to do is twofold. We need to create a user which the form software will use to connect to the database and make changes, and we need to give it permission to make changes to test form database. Now the reason we do this is we don't give it root access, because if we ever have multiple databases and so on, we don't want a security breach to possibly affect everything. So it's to minimize risk to a degree. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to type grant all on